Welcome back to Gonzo Film Reviews for a catch-up episode. Today we have some exciting newish, oldish releases that I've seen recently. Puss in Boots and Babylon. I saw this both last Christmas. I've had time to write up some reviews on them over January. And the wonderful time of year for the Oscars to ruin everybody's fun that they had for the past year at the movies by nominating everything nobody cares about and not watching everything that everybody cares about, and by looking at the money makers over the best films. So it'll be fun to break down what they nominated, how stupid the nominations are, and then go over a list of what should have been nominated and why it should have been nominated. But starting out, there are a few announcements. There's going to be a lot of catch-up to do over the next couple of episodes I'm going to do here. I have some old reviews that I still need to finish up that I promised, so I'm going to review the entire season of the first Lord of the Rings show from Amazon from last year. There's a good reason why I haven't, but that will be coming soon. And then next up, I don't feel the need to finish a Game of Thrones review. Honestly, I might wait for a couple more seasons of House of the Dragon to come out before I really worry about that and just kind of review it as a whole. Additionally, I was very interested in reviewing Vox Machina, the new animated show, because the seasons have been coming out so quickly. I feel like it's justified. Season 2 is pretty well on the way towards its conclusion already, because every Friday they drop 3 more episodes at a time. So as of today, I've seen most of season 2. So I was thinking once season 2 is done, I can lump them together, just review the first 2 seasons of that, and see if it's worth it. And then coming up in March, we're going to have a Cocaine Bear review. We're going to have a Marlowe review, which looks like a very cool detective noir mystery. It's definitely a change of pace for Liam Neeson, who usually does 21st century handgun, hunty, shooty films, and literally nothing else. So it'll be nice to see him do something besides run around, shoot and punch people, and get shot and punched. Of course, those things still might happen, but he'll be wearing a cool suit, so it makes it noir. Anyway, those are just some things that are coming down the pike. And today, I'm going to start off with Puss in Boots, because most people, they tend to love the Shrek films, and I would agree. I've seen the first couple; they're pretty funny, but the animation has come such a long way since the first Shrek. If you compare the first couple Shrek films, even the later ones, and you put them up next to this Puss in Boots film, they're incomparable. The animation was absolutely incredible. And it's something that you have to see in 3D as well, because the effects, especially in the opening sequence, they're what 3D is all about. They're the only reason that it is still alive, and why people haven't quit on it completely. Sometimes it's worth paying the extra couple bucks and just to see what they can give you. Because, well, not to spoil too much, but it's been out a while. I think I'm safe as far as that goes. In the opening sequence, he awakens a giant, and it runs across the town to attack him, rips a bell out of the bell tower to use as a like a whip bludgeon. And just the simple fact of the bell flying out of the screen, at the same time, though, that the environment that Puss is running into, the depth of the field, it was pretty incredible. I haven't really seen it done with animation before in 3D, where they not only got the depth right, because people, they're not just watching 3D films to see things come out of the screen at them. They're watching to see more layers and depth within the actual frames. So when they're able to achieve both at the same time, that's how you know innovation's happening. And a lot of time was spent in getting it right. And they had 11 years since the last film. The Puss in Boots 1 was 2011. So with all that extra time, they sure spent it wisely. It looked incredible, and so many sequences were just made better by the animation and all the work they put into it and the 3D effects. So if anyone did not see this in 3D, you saw a great film, but make no mistake, you missed out just a little bit. And as far as the story goes, I mean, obviously story stuff is the far more subjective area of any film. It's harder to review for story, and not necessarily for effects or the framing or the directing, but let me say that the antagonists, some of them were weak. Obviously, it's a kids show, kids film. You don't want to scare them too much or show a threat that looks like it can't be defeated ever or have no alleviation of darkness, because you need humor to keep a kids film running, and it has to be good humor though. And that seems like something that the Shrek writers have always been pretty conscious of. It's not something that you can just marvel your way through with like jokes about what they're doing at that particular moment in time. Like, oh my gosh, I'm holding a tail. That's funny. Or if you're over the age of 30, oh, my back. What am I doing here? This is so funny to have an old person in this action sequence. And by that time, the audience is asleep, and the nerds are pretending to know who's on screen and pretending to care about the post credits, 1,500 post credit scenes that roll in. A lot of creators seem to be learning the wrong lesson from Marvel, which is copy them for money. But some are learning the right lesson, which is take a look at just a couple of Marvel films and then you'll see what not to do. And then they apply it to their own work. And whether they do that or not is obviously something that I can't guarantee. But it's the impression I get when they make anti-Marvel films. So it's a film that's funny, but it doesn't have a cheap, stupid joke about what they're doing and describing the action to the audience, the action the audience already sees over and over. Like that new Shazam trailer, where he throws a bus at a dragon, then he says, I just threw a bus at a dragon. Like, yeah. Yeah, we know, buddy. So, some of the villains are obviously more silly. Goldilocks and the Three Bears, they were antagonists, sure, for most of it, but they were the comic relief, and they were hilarious. The main one, though, the one that everybody's talking about, and the one that all these YouTubers are making quote-unquote epic versions of his theme song, is the wolf. Because Puss in Boots did something very bold. They had a direct adaptation of the Grimm fairy tale version of death into their film. So, a horrifying, spiky furred wolf standing on its hind legs wearing a dark cloak with gleaming, thick, shiny, blood red eyes and two hooked scythes. Yes, he was pretty horrifying. But on top of that, he's after Puss in Boots because, as the trailers and tagline showed, this is his last life. So the play on the cats have 9 lives. He's on his ninth and final. So for the entire film, Death is chasing him and reminding him that he's about to finally catch up and finish him for good. So he was easily the scariest and the most formidable antagonist of the entire film. And his theme was amazing. The wolf whistle theme that they created was very clever and catchy and scary. And it gets the hair raising on the back of your neck. It's not just Puss in Boots who's terrified of him. So it was very well done. And the way that Puss in Boots faced off against him at the end, and he chose, I guess, the more difficult but right route, as opposed to the cowardly easy way out. After spending most of the film running, it was a very powerful moment, and it really it didn't, but it also didn't take away from the power and the fear that death evokes. It just merely led Death to believe that he had no reason to prematurely take Puss in his ninth life. As he tells him, just live your life, live it well. But we're going to meet again. It was ambitious. It was ambitious for a kid's film. It was very done, well done. Can't say a whole lot for his traveling companions. Mostly just comic relief and an attempt to continue a romantic subplot from the first film. Kind of gone awry. Didn't work too great, but you can't have everything in a good film. Unless that film's name is Babylon. Now, I don't remember the last time that I've laughed so hard watching a film. Maybe since Beetlejuice for the first time. But definitely in theaters. Cannot remember the last time I was in a movie theater laughing as hard as I was and stomping and just trying to get under control. Babylon was one of the funniest and most unhinged films I've ever seen in my life. It was beautiful too and ambitious, but I think its main charm lied in the fact that it wasn't just wild for the sake of being wild. So, there are a lot of films that are kind of like that. They go on the hard R rating and they want to bring up shock value, but there's a good way to do it, and then there's cheap ways to do it, and it's a tough tightrope to walk. There's a million wrong ways to do everything that there is one right way to do. So it's always a tough balance, but when the balance is achieved, you have an incredible result. And a lot of the reviews for this film, I think, missed the point of what it was trying to say and do and be. And runtime is becoming an increasing problem for short attention span TikTok scrollers these days. They expect everything to be 4 minutes long at most, and they just don't have the attention spans or the comprehension to follow along a film for more than an hour or two. And they need their handheld and be dragged through any film they do watch. So they need Marvel movies where the jokes are crap and they all explain the action that's going on the screen for the audience that can see that action the entire time. And I don't know, it's just a very immature and commercial version of movie going. I don't care if you do. Go enjoy it. Kick back for a couple hours, watch Ant-Man. I don't care, but I'm not going to be there, but I don't care if you do. So, but don't let it bleed into the good stuff. I don't want cinema to be influenced or affected by popcorn random blockbusters. I would rather there be a good separation between, um, the all the best movies that come out. So Spielberg and Scorsese, they're never going to be making cheap amusement park ride type films. So you won't see them making Black Panther 55 or Captain America 78. They don't make 700,000 sequels and make cheap copies of whatever original that they come up with. And two films last year that I actually really loved were reviewed terribly for dubious reasons. Both Babylon and Amsterdam were both like so clever and funny and had a lot of heart and good drama that you just didn't get from the films last year that, the moneymakers and the tanks. Top Gun Maverick was just Top Gun again. I didn't even watch the whole thing. But it was that movie that all those rednecks and all the families paid to go see 38 times. So naturally, it's getting the Oscar noms for things that just awards it didn't deserve because it made a lot of money. But I'll get to those later. What I was trying to say about Babylon here is that it's a brand of cinema that is going extinct. It needs to be rescued, and it's a non-blockbuster. It needs to be seen on theater screens. And after the short ad break, the rest of the Babylon review, I absolutely loved the humor. It was off the wall, but it wasn't just crazy madness thrown together, as I was saying earlier. So the way they get the laughs is the ratcheting up of tension, but in a non-suspenseful way, in terms of like horror movies or a fear element, but more of just how hard am I going to laugh? Am I going to piss my pants? Am I going to fall out of my chair? It was a tension of how funny is this going to get? And that's not an emotion that I feel in films almost pretty much never. So that was masterful writing and execution and acting and incredible work by the editor and the director and the entire crew on that set. The scene in particular that I'm speaking about is the switch from when these silent film actors, had to learn to work with a microphone for the first time. The technology was so fickle. And the cameraman had to hide in this completely enclosed box because the cameras were so loud that they would be picked up by the mic. So they were in there sweating and literally dying. And that was just the first tiny problem. Yeah, the actors missing their spots, tape on the floor to line their cues, not saying it loud enough, not speaking in the correct direction for the mic to pick it up, using one of the props on the set too loudly, forgetting lines. Now they had to memorize all the lines, and you got the problem with, for some people, which is just so constantly overdone ever since Singing in the Rain, is the problem with accents and how some people's voice sounded terrible even though their looks were fine. And that's just been done over and over and over and over and over again. It's one of the reasons why I hated Downton Abbey 2. They just basically thought they were being clever and original by redoing Singing in the Rain, whatever. But there were just so many reasons why the actor couldn't get the scene right. Someone on the crew sneezed. That was the funniest part of the whole scene, was when someone sneezed. So the set director just completely lost his mind. Just everything going wrong at once. And then finally, like, angelic music plays and these people are able to finally get one usable take of this scene, and they're like crying and praising God and everything, and then the door to the camera box breaks open, and out tumbles the dead camera operator who the set director kept shoving into the box, telling him not to come out. He had a heart attack, a heat stroke, and he's gone. It's just absolutely incredible what they did with these scenes, and how they showed the trajectory in a more realistic light, probably, from the excesses and the craziness of silent films era to the same general excesses and craziness of the new era, but more of a evolution also of what kind of rich snob was going to be running Hollywood now compared to the ecosystem that they had before. And that seemed to be another huge point of antagonism for the protagonists as they tried to navigate this new world and figure out their own way to be a part of it or to be cast aside or escape. They all had their own agendas, but I mean, the area and the situations, everything that happened just kept getting more and more insane. You can feel the sense of everything unraveling and getting nuts. So it was an incredible film, incredible story, hilarious, great work of cinema. I mean, we need more like them. I feel very privileged that I got to see it on the big screen, and the thought just kept going through my mind as I watched it from beginning to end, especially with the end montage, was that I'm never really going to get to see this film in this way again. They're probably never going to re-release it. You know, I can watch it on a small screen at home, but it's just not the same. And it would be a real shame if this kind of thing truly does die or gets beat by streaming or just goes to streaming. It would be awful. Like, let's make no mistake. Films like these are just, there's no better way to watch them than on a big screen with the huge speakers in a dark room. And if that goes away, it'll be tragic. So support your local cinema. Support your independent films. Take a fucking break from the 700th Avengers spinoff. I'm sure you can live without knowing exactly how many bad jokes the Ant-Man can make and how he's going to definitely win and come out on top and get everything he wants in this new movie, because they never lose. They never really lose. There's no stakes in these films at all. You know, I'm sure you'll live if you see something better. But anyway, what's next? I'm pretty sure I still owe the Oscars some mudslinging. One of my first episodes on the podcast ever was reacting to them. And it was after they happened, so obviously everybody was talking about Will Smith beating someone up for no fucking reason, so I'm going to jump ahead of it this time. I'll make a few Oscars predictions. We'll see if they come true. But first, I'm going to go over some of their nominations, the ones that I really take issue with, and see if I can figure out what should have been nominated instead. I'm pretty sure best film, if I'm correct about this, they threw Maverick in there Like, I don't know how they snuck that in. Looking it up now. Of course, I mean, it's for the year 2022, but they technically call it the 2023 Oscars. It's so stupid. It's like the Super Bowl. Play it in December. I want the 2022 season to be the 2022 season, not the 2022 with a little bit of 2023 season. Oh, God. Okay. Academy Award for Best Picture nominees 2023. Top Gun Maverick, because it made money. Women Talking. Literally nobody has seen that film. I think a grand total of 5 people have watched that film. That's nominated just because Frances McDormand's in it, and I swear she's got to be the sole beneficiary of the Oscars every year at this point. They just nominate her for everything every single year, and she's not even that good. Finally, we get to something that kind of deserves it. Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was insane, but incredible. The Banshees of Inisherin. That's the one that really, really should win. It was the best film easily of last year. I don't know why. I don't think I did a review on it. There's a lot going on that month, but for fuck's sake, oh God, praying that it wins. I will do a full breakdown on that. Next one up, Triangle of Sadness. Don't know what that is. The Fablemans. I didn't watch it, but it looked good. All Quiet on the Western Front, another war movie, skipping that. Avatar, just because it made money. Elvis, just because it's a biopic. And Tar. No idea what that is. Yeah, so what's missing here? What's missing? Babylon's missing. Amsterdam is missing. The Batman is missing. And superhero movies, I mean, they usually don't get Best Picture. But Spielberg was right to say that in 2008, The Dark Knight was really snubbed. It was easily the Best Picture. But this year, I mean, putting Batman in here, I'm not too worried about Best Picture. What pisses me off are the nominees for Best Cinematography. This was an all-time snub. Absolute all-time snub. Tar. Nobody watched it. Okay. Empire of Light. I'm pretty sure only the director and the editor of that film saw that. Nobody watched it. Why is Elvis in here? Bardo. Nobody watched that. All Quiet on the Western Front is because it is oh God, just because it's a war film. The work that Greg Fraser did on the Batman and the technology that he innovated and his cinematography on that film, just bar none. Nobody even came halfway close to having his quarter of a good of a screen and of a frame and of a shot than he did in several points throughout that film. Greg Fraser and Matt Reeves were heavily, heavily snubbed for the incredible work they did just because Batman is in the title. I don't disagree with the Oscars avoiding, crappy Disney knockoffs or stupid Shazam movies. I'm not saying like all Marvel and DC films should be getting more nominations. But when they have an exception, when they have an incredible noir detective story that looks incredible and blows everything else that year out of the water, they deserve to be recognized even if it's just a fucking nomination and you want to do it for show and then give the win to some, foreign film that nobody saw, that's fine. But give them the recognition they deserve at least. Like nominating Top Gun for all the categories that Batman was better in is just insulting to everyone who did a much better job than everyone who did anything on Top Gun. It's just very insulting. Just because it made more money, you throw the nominations at it. Same for Avatar. Maybe special effects, maybe. Like, it should get the Oscar nomination for the most water in a film in 2022. Oscar nomination for the film that, had the most built-in bathroom breaks. Sure. But not best cinematography. Not best picture. So, these nominations are a joke. And based on the ratings each year, the award show is also becoming more and more of a joke. So, a few predictions I'm going to make for the upcoming festivities, and after the award show is over, the next day I'll Google it to see how many I got right, because I have no intention of wasting my time watching State of the Unions or Oscar ceremonies. So one of the predictions is I see it very likely that Sam Smith comes out looking like a fat ham. They might tie him up and wheel him out onto the stage, like some of the videos that I saw online after the Grammys. So that's prediction number one. Prediction number two. Somebody's going to come out and sing Elvis. It's going to happen. You're going to have old people in the crowd and watching. Nobody watches these things. Nobody watches cable anymore except old people. So, you got to play to the crowd, I guess. So Elvis is going to be sung somehow, somewhere by somebody. The night of the show on stage. They had Eminem a couple of years ago, so why not? Third prediction. This one, these are actually hard, because you're wondering how low they'll stoop, how dumb they'll get, but you don't want to be too good. Like, I don't want to be too right, because then it'll happen. Here's a prediction though. Third prediction. Nobody's gonna slap anybody else on stage. I think they're all too scared to do that now. Career suicide. No, semi-suicide. He'll go on Oprah, he'll apologize and cry, and he'll be let back, but yeah. So those are my three predictions. A mostly naked, tied up Sam Smith is going to come waddling out onto the stage. Someone somewhere is going to sing Elvis or do an Elvis presentation. And nobody's going to smack anyone else, at least on camera, at least on stage. I can't guarantee what these cokeheads are going to do, off camera or at the after party, before the party. All I know is we should, but won't have Ricky Gervais there tearing them all apart, so it's frankly not going to be worth watching. But it's always good to remind people that, cinema is not something that can be trophied out, and no matter how much they try to gatekeep, the Academy Awards have zero authority anymore, and never should have anyway. But the more you guys support A24 and indie producers and editors and directors and writers, the better the art form is going to get, because the more it'll be able to tug away from these terrible knockoff versions of cinema and blockbusters that have been polluting the airwaves and kind of ruining each generation's interpretation of what film even is. And the sooner we take the road less traveled, or the right one, we'll stop looking down at the path of least resistance and taking that. And I mean, I just hope it improves. I hope the art form is able to survive the storm. COVID kind of had an almost permanent dent into the average audience per screen. But we'll see how that plays out over the course of a good number of years. I'm predicting it can make almost a full recovery. Problem is, if ticket prices are going to be hiked up artificially, we're going to have a big problem. And there's kind of a tug of war right now on who can treat their customers worse. So you have AMC raising prices up on the middle sections of their theaters. That's going to be a disaster. You have people paying more for seats that are clustered against a bunch of other people. And then if those people are rowdy or, talkative, you have a bunch of people coming out from the middle of the theater, your premium seats, and requesting more expensive refunds than in the past because they paid $25 for this stupid seat in the middle of the theater, and Joe Schmo on either side of them is screaming and laughing and smelling horrible the whole time and dropping their food on them and spilling their drinks. So that's your first problem. Your second problem is the classism and the elitism that's going to start inevitably happening. And then you're going to have to hire more ushers to enforce the seating and the pricing, make sure everybody's sitting where they're supposed to and helping people find their seats when they need it. So that's going to be cute and fun. I don't think the money they're going to make from those tickets is going to be enough to cover those ushers. And then also, you're going to have the issue where people are buying their tickets and during the process they see that the good seats are that much more expensive. They're going to go back to the beginning of the process, say, oh, well, I don't want to pay extra for this stupid seat. Give me something in the back or more towards the front or off to the side. You have to redo the entire transaction. Like, congratulations, AMC. You've played yourself. Not like Netflix is any better. Now they're not letting people share, even though they make more than enough money. They're raking billions of dollars hands over fist. But they're greedy. So Netflix is seeing how much it can abuse its customers and keep them from sharing passwords. And also, you have to have your account anchored to a certain Wi-Fi every 31 days, or else it locks you out. So good luck, travelers. Hope you enjoy your constantly shutting down Netflix because you travel for your job or for leisure or like holidays. Fucking hell, maybe you just wanted to go somewhere. Good luck. It's getting to the point where nobody's going to want to be streaming either. And honestly, Blu-rays and 4Ks might make a huge resurgence. It might become cheaper at this point to just go back to the old way, and if you liked a movie or if you're interested in seeing a movie, you wait till the DVD comes out, you wait till it gets discounted, then you buy it, and you watch it. If you didn't like it, you sell it. People aren't going to want to stream, they're not going to want to go to the movies, they're not going to want to buy digitally or anything, or rent. They're going to get sick of all this shit, and they're going to find the simplest and cheapest way to watch their films and do it. And for a lot of people, that's going to be pirating. So, congratulations to everyone who was already making enough money, to everyone who was already attempting to recover theaters and streaming, for just destroying the one thing you had going for you. So there's a topic I didn't realize I was going to hit, but it's very timely. So congratulations, folks. You heard my perspective on the AMC ticket hike debacle and Netflix's recent crackdown on sharing and subscribers. So the more people cancel, the more they'll get the message. The fewer people go to AMC, the sooner they'll get that message. Use your wallets wisely, because they get the shit taxed out of them anyway. And I think that'll do it for this episode. Stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more coming. I'm going to review Vox Machina. I'm going to review Lord of the Rings Amazon. Maybe rant about it. Kind of like the DC one. I don't know. But those are coming down the pike. Cocaine Bear is coming out. Marlowe's coming out. And the D&D movie is going to be March 31st. So maybe I'll make my April Fool's episode this year, a review of that one. That should be fun. Especially after their recent attempt to destroy their consumers and their customers. But they did a full 180. And that's the difference. I don't think AMC and Netflix and other abusive companies are going to do a full 180. But at least, for all of its faults and for all of its stupidity, Hasbro at least saw the half of a lick of common sense to reverse their OGL madness and just give us an even stronger one than before. So the creators and the consumers spoke up very strongly on that one, and they won. Like, you can beat multi-billion and multi-trillion-dollar corporations. You just have to take away the one thing that they care about, which is your money. That's it. They don't care about your opinion, your kids, or nothing. They care about your money. Take it away, then they'll do whatever they can to get it back. That's it. All right. Until next time, keep watching, folks. And remember, that's life.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more, people talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never share. No one dare disturb the sound of silence. Fool said I, you do not know, silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you, take my arms that I might reach you, but my words like silent raindrops fell and echoed in the wells of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made, and the sign flashed out its warning in the words that it was forming. And the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, and whispered in the sounds of silence.